Hello everyone! Today, we'll be bringing you back to the past by showcasing 10 notable places in the history of the Philippines. In this list, we've included the events about the happenings in the place and why the landmark was made. Disclaimer: we did not include Mindanao, any churches, and Metro Manila, which is in Luzon, due to the scope and limitations of the study. We also only picked landmarks under the Spanish, American, and Japanese era. Number 1. Fort San Pedro, Iloilo. The historical structure was built for security purposes. During the 16,000s, colonial peace and land matters were a bit complicated. The Dutch, British, American, Japanese, and even Filipinos themselves tried to take over this land. For this reason, the Spanish officer who was protecting the land ordered to build a fort. Imagine building a fort for a snowball fight. Yeah, that's what a fort is. But this one was made out of wood and not snow. Waves regularly pounded the fort, so it was improved and built with stones. The fort was built in 1603 and enhanced in 1616. Eventually, in World War II, it was bombed by our so-called allies, the Americans. But this was because the Japanese were manipulating it. Right now, Fort San Pedro, Iloilo is a friendly place where there's a park and a statue of Christ, which marks the spot where the fort existed. Number 2. Blood Compact Site. During the expeditions in the Philippines, a Spanish navigator named Miguel Lopez de Legazpi was continuing the Spanish mission of learning information about the Philippines. He was exploring and making peace with the Filipinos. Look at it this way: if you were invading the space of a stranger, it could get quite awkward, and it could even lead to conflict. In light of this, De Legazpi made friends in the Philippines so that he could get comfortable in their space. He eventually met up with the chieftain of Bohol, Raha Sikatuna. Apparently, Raha Sikatuna also wanted the alliance, so they agreed with each other to do the kasi-kasi, or in English terms, the Blood Compact, which was a sign of alliance. The process of the Blood Compact goes like this: cut your wrist, pour your blood on a cup, and drink each other's blood. Very romantic, right? Furthermore, the Blood Compact site is just a symbol of the action, and the monument does not mark the exact spot of the events occurring. Number 3. Dagohoy Marker. Who or what is a Dagohoy? First of all, he is a man. Not just any man, he is the man. The man that led the longest revolt in the history of the Philippines. Because of the death of his brother, Francisco Dagohoy was enraged against the Spaniards. He led significant revolts in Bohol, which lasted from 1744 to 1829, which is roughly about 85 years. Why did he revolt? He wanted to keep Bohol's independence from the Spanish forces that were trying to invade it. The Spaniards tried different approaches, like wars and verbal agreements. Yet Dagohoy was stubborn in not letting go of Bohol because of his objectives. His goodwill, success, and reputation caused him to have about 20,000 followers. So even after his death, they continued his mission. With the absence of Dagohoy's outstanding leadership, Bohol was eventually taken by the Spaniards. Nonetheless, Dagohoy was a great man, and this marker was made in order to celebrate his heroism. Number 4. Gabriela Silang Monument. Girls are weak. Girls can't fight. This woman proves the statement false. Maria Josefa Gabriela Silang was known as the first Filipina revolutionary leader of a Filipino movement against Spain. How did she become known as this? Let me tell you a love story. Once upon a time, Gabriela was looking for another man because her first one died. It was easy for her to look for another husband since she was flamin' sexy hot. One day, he met a cool dude named Diego. He was smart, He had personality, and he was a leader revolting against the Spaniards, which is everything girls love about a man. They were living and loving happily for 5 years, while continuing wars against the Spaniards, but they eventually caught up to Diego and assassinated him. Remember the name of this assassin, Miguel Vicos. This left Gabriela heartbroken, so she swore to avenge Diego's death. The rebels lost hope after their leader was killed, and no one wanted to take Diego's position. So do you know what Gabriela Salang did? She took his place and won battles against the Spaniards despite her very emotional state after losing her husband. One difficult battle against the Spaniards came by and her forces were overwhelmed. She was later caught at the mountains of Abra and taken prisoner by the same person who assassinated her husband, Miguel Vicos. What a romantic party pooper! Sadly, Gabriela and her men were hanged to death, but the Gabriela Salang Monument exists to remind us of her heroiness. Number 5. Aguinaldo Shrine. This structure is dedicated to the first president of the Philippines, Emilio Aguinaldo. Although the title of first president seems to be honorable and reputable, Aguinaldo wasn't that much of a hero. He was known to be the type of leader who only cared for himself. While there was an ongoing war against the Americans, thousands of Filipino soldiers were sacrificing themselves as Aguinaldo was hiding. He ignored the military men and barely gave them any warfare advice while he went from place to place to place until he finally reached Palanan, Isabela. The Americans did everything to look for this Filipino leader and finally got data on Aguinaldo's location after defeating his emissary Cecilio Segismundo. He revealed Aguinaldo's whereabouts, and he was finally captured in a small house located in Palanan, Isabela. They built this Aguinaldo shrine to commemorate the capture of this pussy cat. Number 6. Philippine War Memorial Shrine. World War II was a global calamity and seemed like it would go on for a long time, but everything ends thanks to humanity. The Philippine War Memorial Shrine was built to celebrate its end. After General Yamashita's surrender on September 2, 1945, peace became evident to the people. The shrine is dedicated to all the soldiers who died for the quest of tranquility. It depicts the historical events from the opposition of the Philippines to the Death March and the defeat of General Yamashita by the Americans and Ifugao troops. At present, the shrine's maintenance and protection is under the care of the people of the province, so that the spirit of brotherhood, bravery, and resolution may live on with everyone who witnesses its presence. Number 7. Kapa's Death March Monument. The infamous Bataan Death March was an iconic tragedy in Philippine history. What caused the Death March was the surrender of the American General Edward P. King. Filipino and American forces did all in their might to defend Bataan from Japanese invaders, but the Japanese were just too clever in their tactics of blocking opposing reinforcements and acquiring allied reinforcements. These American and Filipino reinforcements were supposed to deliver food, ammunition, and medicine to their allies, but they couldn't do so because Bataan was blockaded by the Japanese. General King saw the situation and decided to surrender, therefore starting the Bataan Death March. In summary, the Filipinos and Americans basically marched to death due to starvation and fatigue. Japanese soldiers killed men who fell on the ground or attempted to escape. Researchers estimate that about 10,000 to 30,000 men died during the depressing event. The Kapas Death March Monument recognizes those who perished during the incident. Number 8. MacArthur Park. I shall return. The famous words of General Douglas MacArthur, the Supreme Commander of the United States Army Forces in the Far East. What did he mean when he said that? This was the situation. The Japanese were invading the Philippines, but MacArthur, who was marshalling over the Philippines, had to leave the country due to President Roosevelt's orders. He was looking for troops, but while going from place to place, MacArthur was disappointed to find out that there were less troops than he expected. He then issued a statement, "I shall return," to the press, which he promised the Filipinos. Japan looked like they had already won over the Philippines at this point. But the US had more than just Plan B. They were developing war weapons to counter Japan. So when the time was right, they struck back, and General Douglas MacArthur landed at Leyte and declared on the radio, "People of the Philippines, I have returned." In the end, Japan surrendered, and thus this landmark was made. Number 9. Besang Pass. During World War II, the Japanese had invaded the Philippines. Note that the Philippines' military forces were quite underdeveloped during this time, so the Japanese had the upper hand. The Western powers, specifically America, paid attention to this situation and sent troops to defend the Philippines. Several battles were taking place, but the Battle of Besang Pass stands out because, contrary to what history books teach us, there were barely any Americans who fought in this battle. Almost all of the warriors who fought in this battle were Filipinos who were under the name of an American army. It was the only battle where Filipino soldiers had won against foreign invaders in their own country. Sucks, right? Other sources say, however, that there were many Americans who fought with the Filipinos in this battle. It therefore led to the surrender of General Tomoyuki Yamashita, who was in charge of defending this last stronghold. The Japanese had invaded Besang Pass, but the Filipinos had retaken it. Number 10. Dalton Pass Shrine. We've all heard about the tactical wars going on all over the Philippines during World War II. The combatants battled with bronze and even brains, and used this strategic vicinity to their advantage. Dalton Pass, formerly known as Balete Pass, was a rugged terrain located in between hills. It was the only area that connected Pampanga and Cagayan Valley, so innumerable Japanese, American, and Filipino men fought here. Gallons of blood covered the soil since about 17,000 soldiers were slain during this battle. The shrine was named after the General James Leo Dalton II, who led the Americans and Filipinos during this battle. Unfortunately, he was shot and killed by a Japanese sniper. Nonetheless, James Dalton was a brave and honorable general, which is why he got a shrine of his own. Do you agree with our list? Which historical landmark was your favorite? We hope you enjoyed the video and learned a thing or two about the notable landmarks of Philippine history. Thank you, and have a great day.